Hey guys, Samsonite bricks, and inspired by a video I just saw from Just Too Good, I'm also gonna rank all 22 of the released MCU films. Uh, Even though Far From Home's on there, nobody's seen it yet, so I'm not going to be including that. Um, and I changed the ratings a bit, so we have a great heading, a good heading, average heading, and a poor heading. But poor to me doesn't mean that the movie's like completely terrible. There might be some good things in it. It's just in this vast landscape of films, it's just the least. And I'm gonna do these in order of release instead of just picking favorites first. So where's our Iron Man 1? Um, I just rewatched all of these right before Endgame came out, so it's fresh in my mind. Iron Man is a good movie. It's not the best of the best, but we owe everything that's followed to that. Meanwhile, The Incredible Hulk, yeah, is definitely a poor one. Uh, I think it's pretty much common to a lot of people that it is. Um, Iron Man 2, to me, belongs in the poor category. It's just, in terms of sequels, it's the weakest sequel. Marvel just has a problem a lot of the time with the middle part of their trilogies. Sometimes they just overstuff them, and this is the prime first example of that. It was used too much as a build up for the Avengers by introducing more elements of Shield, which needed to happen. It just maybe could have happened in another movie of some kind at that point. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to really say what else they could have done. Thor to me is an average movie. When I first saw it back in 2011, 2012, whenever it came out, I really did like it. But back then, there was only 5 movies, so it was easier to love certain ones more. But now time hasn't been that kind to it. For a while it would have been a poor movie, but then Ragnarok came out and it kind of reignited my interest in the character. And upon rewatch, Thor holds up now to me enough to be an average movie. Captain America: The First Avenger. I place this in a good one. This was the first MCU film I ever saw. Actually, was the first Avenger. First one I ever saw in full, and so I owe a lot to that. I actually see a lot of people consistently surprisingly rank this as their favorite of all 22. I don't agree that much, but I do think it still holds up. Plus, as a period piece movie, it really does fit with the time, and it feels like an older movie in a good way. The Avengers is a good movie. I know some people, it's one of those movies, for me, I like it, but the more times you watch it, it does lose some of the charm. But seeing it opening night back in 2012 was one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. So there's that. Um, okay, starting phase 3. Iron Man 3 is another one that I think is very good. And I might shuffle some of these into the great later, I don't know. A lot of people hate the Mandarin twist. I don't. I thought it was clever at the time, and it was the first real movie to take a risk in the MCU in that regard by twisting old stories in new ways. Plus, I think it's the best Iron Man movie out of all 3 of them, honestly. Thor: Dark World, that is a poor movie. Only real good thing about it is Loki. But on rewatch for Endgame, I did find Thor to be more entertaining than I remembered. So maybe because of Ragnarok, it's had a positive re-effect on this movie. I don't know. After Thor is the Winter Soldier, wherever that is. There it is. And the Winter Soldier is the first one I'm going to put in the great category. I might end up moving the Avengers later. I'm not sure. The Winter Soldier reinvented the genre for me because after the Avengers was really good and Iron Man 3 was decent, Thor: The Dark World was just not. And I was like, well, maybe the MCU is not going to be able to keep it fresh now after they've done something like the Avengers. But then the Winter Soldier came along and augmented everything, and it changed the way you think about these older movies with Shield and Hydra. And it was the first one that the Russos directed, and you're probably going to see all 4 of their movies up in this great thing. I'm kind of spoiling that in advance, but it's just, I think they're the best directors Marvel's had. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, a few years ago it would have been great, but I'm just gonna have to put it in good now because I still love it. But so much has happened in the MCU since then that it's weaker by comparison now. Um, it's the same thing with Avengers: Age of Ultron. Back when it came out, I was all into it, but now it's just an average movie to me. It's definitely out of the four Avengers movies, it's my least favorite. It's just got a weaker plot. I never really liked the whole characterization of Ultron as a joking robot. I never thought that was good. So it's down here. Now, this might be controversial, but I think that Ant-Man is one of their best successes. Everyone was surprised when Guardians of the Galaxy was a big hit, but even more so, I think Ant-Man. Ant-Man didn't do as well at the box office, but critic-wise, it is consistently talked about as one of their best movies because it's so grounded and it's so simple. It doesn't really feel like a superhero movie because, I mean, let's be honest, it's a guy who shrinks. You know, the final fight happens in a girl's bedroom. Yeah, it's very different from the rest of the series. Captain America: Civil War. We're now into Phase 3, and that is also a great movie. Um, Again, just like Winter Soldier, it reshaped the status quo in the way it reshaped the status quo in the way Avengers: Age of Ultron should have. I think that's why I've put it down here, is because Age of Ultron is what Civil War is what Age of Ultron should have been. Something that furthered the characters' storylines instead of focusing on some big villain for that one movie. Um, Pits, Tony and Steve against each other, and pits best friends against each other in the form of Black Widow and Hawkeye. And this movie introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther, two of the MCU's new leading faces. So it's really good. Doctor Strange is just an average movie to me. I love Benedict Cumberbatch's performance. But I just think he's better in the other movies he's in. I think honestly him on his own just isn't as interesting. Similar to Thor, they work better when they're part of a group. I think the effects are amazing though. Should have won the Oscar. Guardians Volume 2 is, I go back and forth with whether or not, I used to think it was average, but when I rewatched it for Endgame, I really liked it again. So I'm gonna put it up in good. It furthers all the characters, introduces some great new comedic characters. Yondu is used perfectly in this movie. Still really sad about how the story ended for him, but you know, I still think James Gunn is a genius for actually telling his story the way he wanted to. I know some people were disappointed with that, but you know, but I just can't put it in the great one when I didn't put the first one in there. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now that is to me that is a great movie. That is one of the MCU's best. I think they waited so long to be able to use Spider-Man that when they got the chance, they knocked it out of the park. And depending on your opinion, considering the last three Spider-Man movies before this movie had all been subpar, to have this one come out and to be fully, this is also like Ant-Man, and it's very grounded and it's very much set in the real world of the MCU, like the day-to-day lives, and that's what really makes it good. So it's another great movie for me. Another great movie for me is Thor Ragnarok. I don't find the humor tyrus. I think that Taika Waititi is an amazing director from some of his other movies that he's made outside of Marvel. And I find every time I watch it, I discover a new joke that I never really picked up on before. And I just find something new to laugh at or something new to enjoy about this movie. So that makes it great. Black Panther is a good movie. I really do. I love the storyline, I love the characters, and I think it's the most thought out Marvel movie. It's the most personal Marvel movie. But I just don't think the action's not the best, and the CGI is not the best, and like towards the end, and the last act kind of, you know what I mean? The last act kind of detracts. Like the first two acts are so personal, And then the third act is just a CGI fight, kind of like how Wonder Woman was very personal for the first two acts, and the finale just gets really muddled. So it's like that. Avengers Infinity War is important. Just kidding, it's a great movie. Of course it is. This is, it's not the most ambitious crossover in history anymore, but it still represents everything great about Marvel. The pacing is not the best. I honestly do find it's funny if you go look up how much screen time these characters have in this movie, this 2.5 hour long movie. It's not good pacing wise. Um, a lot of characters don't get used. Every character gets like their moment to shine or not shine in the if you're looking at Star Lord. But it's still very solid and a very satisfying experience. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm very near tempted to put it in the great category, but I'm probably going to put it in good. But to me, Ant-Man and the Wasp is just like Thor Ragnarok. It's something I discover something new every time. Let's just stick it in good, I think. It's something that I discover something new to enjoy about it every time I watch it. Of course, it's not even a year old, so maybe it'll change. Maybe the status will change in a few years. But I just think that Paul Rudd is at his best in the MCU at this point, and I thought that the Wasp was much better developed in this movie than she was in the original. And this movie is the most grounded out of like Ant-Man, Spider-Man, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. This one is the most daily, like mundane. The plot is very consequential to the characters, but like the rest of the world, it doesn't matter to them what happens. Captain Marvel is I go back and forth. I've seen it twice. I really like the character. I don't have a problem with the character. I don't get into I don't have any stake in all the complaints and stuff that's gone on with this movie. I really care about the character by the end of the movie and what she goes through, and I like Brie Larson, and a lot of the other supporting cast is good. Nick Fury gets used amazingly in this movie. So it's a good movie. It's not a great movie. Of course, Avengers Endgame is a great movie. I love this movie 3000. Spoiler ban's lifted, so I guess I can make that joke now. So I see that as an absolute win. I don't want to say much about the movie, but it's if you've seen it, and I'm sure most of you watching this have, it's a very satisfying experience. Of course, I can't rank Far From Home, but I'm hoping Far From Home will go up in the great category. We'll see. We'll see what happens in a few months. But this is my ranking. I think I was pretty fair. There's only three MCU movies that I really don't like watching. And there's 3 that I just get bored in. And then there's 10 that I will watch and I think are good movies. But there are 6 that I will watch with rapt attention and I'm not bored or distracted by other things, and it's these 6. These 6 represent the best of Marvel storytelling to me. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, leave a like. Let's have a discussion in the comments about what you guys think of my thoughts on this, and I will see you all with some new videos coming up this week. It's been a while, but hopefully it'll be worth the wait. Until next time, this is Samsonite Bricks, signing off.